Have you ever felt like something is deeply wrong in your relationships, but couldn't quite explain it? Like you're spiraling in a way you can't escape? What if I told you that you might be dealing with someone who doesn't just want to hurt you in the moment? They're quietly and slowly tearing you down from the inside without you even realizing it. This isn't just something you see in movies. In fact, it happens more often than you think. Denzel Washington once shared a shocking message about recognizing when someone is strategically destroying you. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this with 5 signs you can't afford to miss. If you've ever wondered why you feel anxious, confused, or drained in a relationship, you definitely don't want to skip this video. Stick around until the end to uncover how to put a stop to this harm before it's too late. The first sign, one that you may have felt simmering deep inside you, is the inconsistency between words and actions. Truly, in this life, we long to live in a world of clarity, where words and actions go hand in hand, acting as a guarantee for trust and peace of mind. Yet, sometimes, we find ourselves faced with people who pull us into a storm of uncertainty, where everything becomes vague and elusive. They may speak sweet words, promise wonderful things, but then act in a completely contradictory manner. Their promises remain unfulfilled, and their actions leave us feeling abandoned, hurt, without even realizing it. It's as if, in their world, words are empty sounds, while actions speak the real message they wish to convey. Though it may not be overt, this is one of the most subtle tactics used by those with ill intentions to wear you down and disorient you. They may say they love you, but fail to show it through tangible actions. They may claim to care about you, yet abandon you in your most vulnerable moments. They may swear to stay by your side, but leave as soon as the relationship faces a little challenge. Those sweet words are just a cover-up, hiding the truth that their actions are entirely different. They don't truly want to care for you, to understand you, or to commit to you. Their words are mere tools to approach you, to control you, and to hurt you quietly without you even noticing. In reality, this inconsistency is one of the ways they manipulate you without you realizing it. They create a sense of insecurity, a constant confusion that makes you question yourself. Am I being too sensitive? Am I misunderstanding something? They make you doubt your own feelings and perceptions because you can't reconcile what they say with what they do. You begin to feel lost, disoriented, and gradually lose trust in yourself. These contradictions, if they persist, not only weaken your self-confidence, but also harm the way you view the world around you. You start to wonder if everyone has motives like theirs, if every beautiful word is just a facade hiding some dark truth. And then, you become the victim of the confusion they create. Their actions may seem hard to comprehend, sometimes acting as though they're doing the right thing, yet completely lacking consistency with their words. Their promises are spoken with passionate commitment, but when reality hits, you find they never follow through. This creates a tiresome cycle. You wait, you trust, but everything shatters once again. You thought you understood, but their inconsistency forces you to second-guess and analyze again, leaving you exhausted and worn out. Perhaps you've forgiven them before, thinking they could change. You believed that a promise, a sincere word, would be enough for them to do what was right. But you fail to realize that this inconsistency is not just a careless act or a mistake. It is a deliberate strategy to control you. They don't need to use harsh words or take direct bad actions. In fact, what they do is push you into a situation where you are forced to question yourself. Do I deserve to be treated this way? Am I being too harsh or expecting too much from them? Once you become aware of this inconsistency, you will start to feel the negative effects it has on your life more clearly. You are no longer the only one suffering in this relationship. You have become part of the game they've set in motion. The sweet words are just a mask, hiding the truth that they only want to manipulate you, making you constantly worry about something you can't explain. And it's this very contradiction that will remain their weapon, continuing to control you without giving you a chance to break free from their influence. But you deserve to live in a genuine relationship where words and actions align, where you don't have to question what you receive. You deserve to be loved fully, not just through empty promises, but through specific, clear, and caring actions. So, when you recognize this inconsistency, have the courage to stand up and demand what you truly deserve. Don't let yourself be trapped in a relationship where you're constantly explaining, analyzing, or doubting what others say. Inconsistency is a sign of manipulation, and you have the right to refuse it, to reclaim control over your life and your heart. The second sign, perhaps one of the most difficult to recognize, is the sense of tension during conversations. You may start to feel that something isn't right, even though everything appears to be normal on the surface. Every conversation with them feels like you're walking on a knife's edge. On one side, there's charm and gentleness, but on the other, there's an underlying threat that makes it hard to breathe easy. These conversations no longer serve as a place for connection. Instead, they become a source of anxiety, worry, and sometimes even fear. Simple questions and their soft replies can leave you confused, wondering if you've done something wrong. It's as though they're constantly observing, judging you piece by piece, looking for any crack, any weakness to break through the wall of confidence you've worked so hard to build. When dealing with people like this, you no longer feel free or comfortable being yourself. Even their kindest words or most caring gestures start to feel like a mental challenge. A casual question like, "Are you okay?" leaves you unsettled because behind it is a sense of probing, a way for them to check whether you truly are okay or not. You begin to doubt your own feelings, wondering if you're being too sensitive or if there really is something wrong. These doubts slowly pull you away from yourself, making you lose trust in your own emotions and perceptions. The mental attack is something they excel at creating. They don't need to shout at you or criticize you directly. Instead, they skillfully plant seeds of doubt in your mind, creating small cracks that are hard to detect at first. They might say things like, "I must be misunderstanding, but why did you act that way?" Or, "Do you think you're worrying too much?" These seemingly innocent remarks are actually breaking down your confidence bit by bit. They make you feel like you're not good enough, not right, not smart or strong enough. These doubts slowly erode your mind, making you question whether your thoughts and feelings are valid, whether you've really done well, or if you're just lying to yourself. They don't attack you with harsh words. Instead, they subtly make you feel small. It's as if every word they speak has a purpose, a delicate plan to make you doubt yourself. Every time you share something, they don't just listen. They analyze, they scrutinize, they look for weaknesses, gaps in your words, embedding in your mind the feeling that you're always falling short, that you're never enough. This turns you into a version of yourself that you no longer recognize. Someone full of anxiety, insecurity, always seeking approval from those who don't deserve that respect. And then, these conversations no longer serve as a space for release where you feel understood. Instead, they become trials where you must brace yourself against invisible criticisms and silent doubts. They don't criticize you openly, but they force you to view everything through a lens of skepticism, one that makes you uncertain about yourself. You become a version of yourself that feels constantly at odds with unclear emotions, with thoughts filled with hesitation. That feeling, tension in every conversation, makes it impossible for you to relax, to truly be yourself. You start living in a constant state of anxiety about how you will be judged, about what you will say. You worry that every word you speak will be scrutinized, mocked, or criticized. These conversations are no longer just exchanges. They become a psychological game, where you always have to be cautious, always have to hide parts of yourself to avoid disappointing them, to avoid being criticized. This is how they slowly weaken you in a clever, almost invisible way. They don't need to be outright harsh. It's the small gestures, the subtle words that are calculated to create tension and doubt within you. Gradually, you lose sight of who you truly are. You become a version of yourself that you don't recognize, someone who constantly lives in fear, in uncertainty, questioning every action and every word. You become someone controlled by worries and unspoken questions that you can never answer. But you don't have to continue living like this. Once you realize this, you can begin to find yourself again. Don't let doubts and anxiety make you lose who you are. Don't let those conversations continue to be a place where you have to be on guard, where you live in fear and uncertainty. Find the strength to stand up, reclaim your confidence, and protect it. You deserve to communicate in an environment where you don't feel tense, where you can be yourself without fearing mental attacks. Once you become aware of this, you will be able to walk away from those tense conversations and step into a space where freedom, sincerity, and understanding truly matter. The third sign is perhaps one of the most subtle and dangerous tactics that those who wish to control you often use: emotional manipulation. This isn't a direct attack. It's a silent battle, fought in moments that seem harmless but can slowly destroy all the trust and confidence you've worked so hard to build. Emotional manipulation is the art of using your deepest, most vulnerable emotions as weapons, creating mental wounds that you won't even realize immediately. It's when they gradually make you feel guilty, as though every problem, every conflict in the relationship is your fault, even when in reality, it's the complete opposite. One of the first ways they manipulate your emotions is by making you feel guilty. They don't attack you harshly. Instead, they carefully guide you into a psychological state where you begin to question yourself. Did I do something wrong? Am I being too harsh? It could be a gentle criticism or a comment like, "I'm just worried about you," or "You're being too sensitive." Words like these don't directly criticize you, but they make you feel like something is wrong with you. They make you question every action, every feeling you have. Slowly, you start doubting yourself, questioning if what you feel is truly right, and most importantly, you begin to feel guilty for those emotions. Over time, this will create a pressure on you, making you feel like you're always apologizing for things that aren't your fault, all while the harm is actually coming from them. In reality, emotional manipulation doesn't stop at making you feel guilty. It's also a way to make you believe that you're always the one at fault, always responsible for everything in the relationship. They turn every problem, no matter how small, into something that's your fault. For example, if you disagree with them on something, they immediately make you feel like you're causing tension, hurting the relationship, even though it's just a difference of opinion. They make you believe that if you don't agree with them, if you don't do what they want, it means you don't understand them, you don't love them enough. And suddenly, you feel as though you're living in a world full of guilt, unable to escape. They draw you into conversations where you can't help but feel like the one who's at fault, even when you've done nothing wrong. The problem is, while you're feeling guilty, they continue to reinforce their manipulation with sweet lies. They'll say things like, "I'm doing this because I love you," or "I just want what's best for you." And once you start feeling this way, they'll offer a fake apology, making you believe that they truly care about your feelings, that they understand you and are trying to make things right. This makes it easy for you to forgive them, believing they know they've done wrong and will change. But in reality, this is just a repetitive cycle of manipulation, where they continue to use your emotions to control everything, keeping you in a constant state of stress, anxiety, and discomfort with yourself. The longer this goes on, the stronger and more subtle the emotional manipulation becomes. You begin to feel like you're not yourself anymore. You can't speak your mind freely without fear of being criticized. You can't do anything without worrying that your actions will hurt them. Slowly, you become weak, lacking in confidence, and unable to stand up for yourself. You lose the ability to distinguish between your true feelings and the emotions forced upon you by their manipulation. You become a different person, one who constantly lives in fear of making a mistake, of not being able to meet their expectations. But emotional manipulation doesn't just harm you mentally. It also pulls you farther away from your own life. You begin to neglect your own needs and desires, choosing instead to please them, to try to avoid the guilt they create. You start to believe that your happiness can only come from their approval and acceptance. You lose yourself, lose your autonomy in your own life. So, how can you break free from this emotional manipulation? The answer begins with recognizing the manipulation you're facing. You need to learn how to spot these subtle signs and confront them directly. Don't let yourself get swept away in the cycle of guilt and insecurity they create. Learn to love, and respect yourself. Remember, you don't have to apologize for your feelings and thoughts. You have the right to feel, to live your life in your own way, without being responsible for the harm someone else causes. Once you become aware of this emotional manipulation, you will find a way to stand strong, reclaim control over your life, and never allow anyone to use your emotions as a weapon again. The fourth sign is turning the story around to make themselves the victim. This is a strategy that nearly all of us have experienced at least once, though it's not always easy to recognize. When you decide to speak up about their actions, when you criticize or express dissatisfaction with something they've done, the surprising thing happens. Instead of taking responsibility, they quickly transform into the victim, making you feel guilty and questioning whether you've been too harsh. When you express dissatisfaction with their words or actions, instead of listening and trying to improve, they immediately react with emotionally charged statements like, "You always make me feel like I'm not good enough," or "I just want to help you," but you never see that. These words aren't an acknowledgement of wrongdoing. They're a subtle redirection that makes you question yourself. You start to feel guilty, begin to doubt if you've been too critical or if you're asking too much from them. And instantly, you're pulled into a sense of insecurity, anxiety, thinking that you might have hurt them without even realizing it. This shift is truly terrifying because it forces you to constantly defend your own feelings. You don't just feel guilty for criticizing them. You start fearing that you're being unfair, that you don't understand or evaluate them properly. Slowly, they begin to strip away your right to express your emotions, turning you into someone who is always the one to make amends, always the one to apologize, even though you've done nothing wrong. They skillfully turn every criticism into a self-attack, making you feel responsible for all their emotions, rather than them being accountable for their actions. The danger here lies in the change in how you see things. You begin to think that you're too strict, that you don't understand them well enough to see that they're trying, that everything they do is for a good reason. You slowly forget your true feelings just to avoid hurting them more. This not only takes away your ability to speak the truth, but also undermines your confidence in expressing yourself. Over time, you become someone who always blames yourself, always carries the weight of someone else's emotions, even when those feelings aren't your fault. They will continue to use this strategy to approach you, making you constantly feel that you're in the wrong. They'll twist every situation into one where you're to blame. At some point, when you speak out against something, they'll instantly respond with comments like, "You don't love me like you used to," or "I'm not doing enough for you." These words not only make you feel guilty, but they also force you to reconsider your actions, wondering if you've truly been unfair to them. These words strike at your psyche, making you question your own feelings and perception of the situation. This pushes you into a state of constant tension. Every time you want to share a thought or emotion, you have to carefully consider whether it might hurt them. You begin to fear expressing yourself because you know that any moment could lead to another twist where you're once again made to bear the blame. You fear that if you continue speaking up, you'll be labeled as too harsh, even selfish, and eventually, you'll find yourself feeling isolated in your relationships, unable to find true understanding or connection. They cunningly use the guilt you feel to control you. You become exhausted, not from their actions, but from the emotions they make you feel. You can't stay true to yourself in this relationship. Every word they say, every gesture they make could make you feel like you're in the wrong, like you're the one responsible for everything. Eventually, you won't recognize yourself anymore. You'll become someone who stays silent, constantly justifying your feelings, always apologizing, even though you haven't done anything wrong. This subtle trap is one of the ways they control you without ever needing to confront you directly or use aggression. They know how to turn any situation into one where you feel guilty, making you always side with them, even though you're the one being hurt. And when you finally realize this, when you realize that you haven't done anything wrong, you'll feel like you've been manipulated all along. You'll recognize that they are the ones who should be taking responsibility, not you. Don't let them continue to control your emotions. Don't let them make you feel guilty for your own feelings and thoughts. You have the right to express dissatisfaction, You have the right to speak up when you feel hurt. Healthy relationships will never make you responsible for the actions and emotions of others. When you become aware of this, you'll step out of the shadow of guilt and reclaim the strength to love yourself again. The final sign is the tactic of silence and emotional shunning. This method is one that not everyone can easily recognize at first, but when it happens, it can create a storm of emotions in your mind, making you feel as though you're living in darkness, unable to find a way out. Silence isn't just any ordinary quiet. It's not a space to pause for thought or to respect each other's boundaries. It's a subtle strategy, a deliberate silence, meant to make you feel invisible, as though you don't exist in their world. When dealing with people like this, you start to notice something strange happening in your relationships. You send a message, but they don't reply. You try to make a connection, but they keep their distance, seeming indifferent to you. They might not say anything outright, but their silence feels like a declaration of war, making you question, what did I do wrong? Did I hurt them somehow? Your messages become ignored signals, your calls unanswered. The longer you wait, the stronger that coldness grows, as if you're living in a world where your presence doesn't matter anymore. What's even scarier is that when you feel this silence, when you begin to realize they're emotionally shutting you out, you fall into a vicious cycle. You feel like you need to do something, to change something, to do whatever it takes to bring them back, to end the silence. You begin to blame yourself, wondering if you're the one at fault, if you're the reason they've pulled away. And in that moment, the anxiety and fear of rejection, the fear of being alone, drive you to act. You feel a desperate need to salvage the relationship you once thought was strong, so you won't have to live in the insecurity and emotional deprivation. This is when they gain control. Their silence isn't random. It's a calculated strategy, making you feel like you need their approval. They don't have to say a word. By simply not responding, by refusing to acknowledge you, they push you into a fruitless race to regain their attention. The feeling of being abandoned without any clear reason is what they exploit to make you feel less worthy, to make you feel increasingly isolated. You begin to believe that their silence is a form of rejection, a sign that they don't accept you. And the more you do to prove yourself, the easier it is to fall into the trap they've set. When you try to connect, they remain silent. When you ask for an explanation, they become distant, leaving you in the dark as to why things have turned out this way. And then you start to wonder if you've done something wrong, if they really still care about you, or if you just become unimportant in their world. Silence is a weapon these people wield very subtly. They don't need to say harsh words or take obvious actions to hurt you. Their silence alone is enough to make you battle with your own emotions, to feel as if you're standing in front of an invisible wall that you can't break through. You become someone you don't recognize, always living in doubt, in loneliness, and in fear of how to please the other person. But what's crucial is that you are not responsible for their silence. That silence isn't a reflection of you. It's a reflection of them. Silence is manipulation. It's their way of controlling you, making you feel lacking. In reality, silence doesn't reflect your feelings or thoughts. It's their way of rejecting you, making you worry whether they still care about you. And just when you feel like you need to do something to fix it, they'll return as if you've done everything right to soothe that silence. They want you to feel like you're trying to restore the connection, and the more you try, the deeper you fall into the trap they've set. However, what you need to remember is that this silence is not something you must endure. You have the right to live in a healthy relationship, one where you don't fear silence or the feeling of being alone. You deserve to be loved and respected, not because you have to do something to appease someone, but simply because you are you. When you realize that silence is a tactic, you will no longer feel like you have to fight for someone's attention. Instead, you will learn to value yourself, not allowing anyone's silence to make you question your worth. You don't need to please anyone to prove you're worthy, because your value has existed from the moment you became yourself. As we wrap up, remember that recognizing these signs is the first step to taking back control in your life and relationships. Don't let anyone silently destroy your confidence and peace of mind. Let Denzel Washington's powerful words about strength and awareness be the motivation you need to protect yourself. You deserve to be in relationships that uplift you, not ones that break you down. Stay vigilant, trust your instincts, and don't be afraid to walk away from what doesn't serve you. Keep empowering yourself, because your well-being is always worth the fight.